5 ways British and American families are different. Let's get into it.
Right? America has a bigger population, it has more households in general, so this makes sense. All of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to family. You know, there's an old saying in the English language, families, you can't live with them, and there are studies to back me up on that. But as I discussed recently with patrons on my secret stream, there are various nuanced differences between how family life plays out in Britain and America. And as I said to my patrons last Friday, I've experienced the best and the worst of both sides of the coin. And so today, at the risk of alienating everyone in my families, I'm going to lay out some of my observations.
Lovely.
Here are 5 ways that British and American families are very different.
You know, this is actually going to be very interesting because, I guess, in a way, I might want to raise my family in America because I want to move to America so badly. So will I, like, this might help me decide, do I stay in the UK, raise my family in the UK, or do I move to America? Like this is going to be a very interesting video.
I'm not sure if it's because I'd already seen the extra large size of America's roads and cars and land and grocery stores and everything, but my initial impression was that American family sizes were bigger than those of Britain. And, you know, if you don't believe me, watch the 1990 documentary Home Alone. It just felt like my wife's relatives were coming from all angles, you know, not in attack formation, it's not the 18th century, but their great numbers instilled in me this kind of belief that American households were on average made up of more people than your British equivalents. But was there any truth to this matter? It's not that British families don't have multiple children. I myself have 2 siblings. Well, it turns out there is no ignoring the facts. Over the last 10 years, the average number of person per UK household was between 2.3 and 2.4. In that same time period, the average number of people in an American household has roughly floated between 2.5 and 2.6 people. So that means that on average, American households have about 1/5 of a person more than British households, which is about the size of a leg. What's going on in America?
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I've noticed that might accommodate this slight increase in family size is the relatively large size of American houses, which, as I pointed out in a video 2 years ago, are just bigger, which, you know, might account for these. My family might not be typical, but when I was growing up in Britain, we had parties at our house for 2 occasions, and those 2 occasions were Christmas and birthdays. For Christmas, it would just be a small gathering of humans that could fit inside our English living room. And for birthdays, and we're particularly talking about childhood birthdays, it would usually be about 6 kids, one of whom was inevitably thrown out for disruptive behaviour, forcing the other 5 to go on without me. And they'd all play Pass the Parcel, which is a game that I don't hear too many Americans talking about, come to think of it. And that was about it for me. But in America, families will house huge parties for all manner of occasions. So 25 people will show up to Christmas meals, Thanksgiving meals, 4th of July stuff, birthdays, graduation open house parties. I did 3 of those in my first year, and I still don't know who those people are. And the one that really stands out for me personally is the welcome party that I was given. When I came to Indiana in 2007, I was just visiting, you know, and I thought I'll meet the mum and the dad for the second time, I'll meet the brother and sister, maybe pet a dog or 2. No, I got the whole works, as they say. There were aunts and uncles and granddads and grandmothers and cousins of cousins. And I know what you're thinking, ooh, Lawrence, you're an introvert, that must have been hell. But here's the thing, one of the most challenging things about being an introvert is initiating the conversation. And because I couldn't get a word in edgeways, I didn't have to go through that, so everyone's a winner. A moment ago, I touched upon graduation open house parties. What I didn't mention is that we do have graduation parties in the UK. It's just that the word graduation usually refers only to the commencement of university/college. Whereas in America, it seems like families will hold a graduation party for various levels of the educational pyramid. So I've celebrated everything from a distant cousin's graduation from elementary school all the way through to university. And it's all good. You know, you normally give them a card with some money in it, even though you needed that yourself. And presumably they put it toward their first car, you know, not the elementary kids. Or the high school kids come to that. I don't know what they spend it on. All this to say that American families place a great deal of emphasis on the educational excellence of their kids. Now, I'm not saying this doesn't happen in Britain.
No, that 100% happens in Britain because that's what's going on with me right now. My parents, so I'm off. Those either don't know, the reason that hasn't been like too many uploads recently is because I got into university, got into my first choice. I'm stoked. lot of money. Like, my parents really wanted it so badly. They were pushed for it so much for me to go to university, but hopefully I can still do that and content at the same time. Just very quickly from me, guys, I'm live almost every day over on my Twitch. Hell, I'm probably live right now, so go check it out. Also, if you do want to support my dream of becoming a full-time content creator, there is a donation link in the description. Don't feel like you got to donate. It's just a way you support if you like my content.
And of course it does. I just think the idea of pushing their kids to excel academically is, generally speaking, more prominent in the United States.
I definitely
this
think
doesn't just apply
that
to grades.
my case is a little bit different, like, because my dad was educated, and he says it's so much better, and I guess he just wants me to be well educated just so I can almost know what it's like and pass the good traits on to my kids. I don't really like it. I have to ask him that.
Things like extracurricular activities. It seems like it's a really big thing here for kids to be on a sports team, or to be in band, or to do, what was it called? Yes, colour guard. That's where you throw the sticks and the flags in the air and you catch them in ways that I can't even comprehend. And American families are super supportive of this. You know, many of them will go and watch their kids perform, and I've even been to a few myself. And what can you say at the end of such an event? Oh, your flag throwing skills were really impressive, presumably. I mean, I don't know the rules. The point is, whether we're talking about football or marching band or honour society, it seems to me that a kid's extracurricular activities play a larger role in the dynamics of an American family as opposed to a British one. I sort of hate this bit because I don't have any data to back it up. It's just all feeling. So instead, let's talk about something for which I do have some numbers. One of my patrons, Jeff, asked me about multi-generational households. What's a multi-generational household, Lawrence? Well, typically speaking, it's a household in which 3 or more generations of family members live together. So it might be...
Three. Wait, can we... Sorry.
Household in which 3 or more generations of family members live together. So it might be some grandparents, parents, and kids. So an example of this would be Charlie Bucket's house in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He lives with his mum and 4 grandparents who, frankly, aren't pulling their weight. But in each country, what percentage of households have this kind of multi-generational makeup? Well, in Britain, the Office for National Statistics suggests that 419,000 households are considered multi-generational, and as a percentage...
You know what? I lived with my gran for a bit. And I loved it. I think it's a really good thing to do, and it means your family's closer together. So, and I also think like the older generation also know it much more. So they're teaching the young like people that. Like I learned so much from my granddad, for example, who's no longer with us sadly. I learned so much from him as a person, and like just life skills in general. It was so valuable, and same from my nan.
Percentage of all the households in Britain, those account for about 1.5%. In America, it's about 4 million households, but whoa, back up the truck, right? America has a bigger population, it has more households in general, so this makes sense. But even when you do account for that differential, 4 million households is nonetheless 3.2% of all American households. So the answer to your question, Jeff, is that it appears that American households are twice as likely to be multi-generational. Oh. What do we learn from that? I don't know, but it's an interesting fact. And then there's the terminology, the titles that we use to describe a particular family member. And I don't just mean the word plonker. No, I'm talking about the American mom versus the British mum, or pops versus my old man. Whereas both Britain and America might refer to their younger sibling as younger brother or younger sister, Americans might occasionally refer to that person as their kid brother or kid sister. In Britain, as with the US, you might hear your parent's parental figure be described as granddad, grandfather, or grandpa. But one word that I heard in the Midwest, and I gather is used in the South, is papaw, or variants on that theme. Similarly, in the UK, while we might refer to our parents' maternal figure as grandma, grandmother, nana, nan, in the US you've got 1 or 2 other phrases. You've got Grammy, like the award. Grammy. You've got grandma, grandmom, grams, and presumably in cahoots with papaw, you have mamaw. And that is it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below if you're...
Well, that was very interesting to watch. I feel like the main thing there was, for me, was that the houses are multi-generational, whereas all my family's in the UK, so not like it would matter for me. Maybe I'll find a partner in America one day. Who knows? Who knows what happened? But it definitely gives you something to think about. Like, will I stay in America? No, stay in America, stay in the UK, or possibly move to America. Again, I really badly want to go to America, so you guys do want to support, please just like and subscribe. There is a donation link in the comments. Don't feel like you have to donate or anything. It's just there if you want to help put money towards me going to America. Also, if you follow my Twitch, it helps so much. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next one.